The hypotheses suggest that technologically advanced extraterrestrials visited Earth and aided the development of humanity's fledgling civilizations. This is no longer an unfamiliar sight on television shows or current social media platforms. However, some evidence has been presented to assert that aliens have never visited Earth to assist human civilizations. From that point on, the truth of the matter was fully exposed. Finally, what transpired during that brilliant historical period? And if the support from extraterrestrial beings is denied, then who truly created those great achievements? Where do they truly come from? Join us in exploring vivid evidence of our ancestors' glorious era, presented from the most objective perspective right here. 299,792,458. This is the exact measured value representing the speed of light. 299,792,458 meters per second. According to the theory of special relativity, this is the maximum speed that all forms of energy, matter, and information in the universe can attain. What's even more astonishing is that this is also the exact location of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Moreover, along with the two sister pyramids of Khafra and Menkaure, the three stars form a near-perfect structure, aligned with the belt of the distant Orion constellation. This proves that the ancient Akkad people must have been extraordinary talents, or they may simply be superior to us due to their astonishing technological achievements. As a result, many foreigners have sought to buy shares and claim ownership of this ancient structure. As native Akkad people, let us explore together the theories about our ethnic origins. Ancient people were primarily black Africans, white people, or even great extraterrestrials. Today, Akkad is a vibrant and harmonious people, carrying within them a rich blend of Arab, North African, Mediterranean, and deeply historical Saharan heritage. In the 21st century, Akkad is regarded as one of the most diverse and culturally rich societies in the Middle East. It profoundly influences every aspect of language, music, cinema, and art in the region. What about the influence from the ancestors, the ancient Akkad people? Most current discussions about the origins of the ancient Akkad people appear to stem from Europe's incursion into North Africa and the Middle East over the past 3 centuries. Therefore, to cover as many aspects as possible in the next 20 minutes, this video will focus on analyzing some fundamental elements of two perspectives: Afrocentrism and Eurocentrism. From there, it expands into the perspective on aliens and concludes with the central viewpoint of Don Ward. From the 1920s onward, some American scholars began to challenge the perspective they believed erased the African element in Akkad's history. They argue that in Western academia, ancient Akkad history is being transformed into an extension of European history, almost severing its ties with African and Middle Eastern history. In 1955, Cheikh Anta Diop, a Senegalese physicist from West Africa, also took a keen interest in history, linguistics, and anthropology. He became one of the most ardent supporters of the Afrocentric perspective, while asserting that there was a deliberate conspiracy to erase Akkad's history. His supporters primarily rely on works recorded by ancient historians. The most famous is Herodotus, who lived in the 5th century BC, comparing the ancient Akkad people to the Ethiopians, likely based on their skin color and hair texture. Diop's perspective appears to have been reinforced by numerous archaeological and anthropological studies conducted in East Africa over the past half-century. For example, in 1987, Martin Bernal from Cornell University used linguistic, archaeological, and mythological evidence to demonstrate that while the exact racial composition of the ancient Akkad people could not be determined, this civilization was fundamentally of African origin. That means he believes it has more similarities with modern sub-Saharan African culture than with Southern European or Mediterranean culture. Although Bernal's conclusions carry a certain degree of subjectivity, the most compelling evidence of the 21st century still supports the view that ancient Akkad was primarily a black African kingdom, with clear traces remaining in the modern Nubian community of Akkad today. Despite undergoing Arabization, the Jia Den people in Akkad and present-day Sudan still share a common language from ancient Akkad. This language has existed as an inseparable part of them. Over thousands of years, the Nile-Saharan language has been recorded and verified by the ancient Greeks and Italians. History records that the land of Nubia was once the cradle of many empires, most notably the Kingdom of Kush, which conquered Egypt in the 8th century BCE. But is this enough to confirm that ancient Akkad history before the High Lam era primarily belonged to the Jia Den civilization? In fact, more than 30 dynasties built pyramids, estimated to date back to the 4th century or earlier. Those who hold a Eurocentric viewpoint assert that Haiti was never a true civilization. Accordingly, all the greatest achievements of the Akkad people were built before the Nubian rule. Because of that, they began to doubt the true power of the Black Akkad before that time. The above criticisms can also be applied to the works of Herodotus, an ancient Greek scholar. Some scholars argue that he lacks the competence to discuss the ancient Akkad civilization. His analysis is often criticized as immature, superficial, and lacking rigor. They also accused the idealists of distorting Herodotus's work by deliberately mistranslating it with the argument that the keyword you used in ancient Greek to refer to the color black is inaccurate. T exactly referred to black people, because if we charred black. If you still find this argument somewhat dubious, take a look at the worldview of the Akkad people when they speak of their ancestors. Is this a clearer and stronger perspective? How did the Akkad people perceive themselves? To answer this question, we must first examine how they express themselves through their paintings and other related elements. This includes analyzing how they describe foreigners. The Akkad people, like many other ethnic groups, seem deeply aware of their distinct identity, primarily through comparing oneself to other peoples of the world who are not from Akkad. The hieroglyphs in the description of the Akkad people and foreigners largely reflect the history of this land. They see themselves as a blend of the curly black hair of Africans and the distinctive bluish-gray skin of Asians. The tombs of pharaohs Seti I and Ramesses III belong to the New Kingdom period and are located in the Valley of the Kings. There are images that depict people in a very unique way, showcasing the diverse types of individuals in the universe. Above, the sun god reigns, holding supreme power. The Akkad people of these types have brown skin with a slightly reddish tint. This skin color stands in stark contrast to that of the Nubians, who have black skin, and the Libyans and Asians, who have a somewhat grayish-blue complexion. Though partly based on skin color and other physical features, these ancient races also relied on the diversity of hairstyles and attire to distinguish themselves. Their function also helps the Akkad people identify themselves as a distinct ethnic group, while demonstrating their blood ties to the rest of the world. Therefore, in that sense, the Akkad people consider themselves a distinct ethnic group. The Akkad people consider themselves a distinct community, with pure bloodlines and an untainted culture. Therefore, much evidence suggests that this lineage has always identified themselves as the original Akkad people, though their appearance bears distinct foreign traits. Note that, even though the Akkad people have black skin, it has already been mentioned in the description. But the skin tone in Akkad's art is considered a more reasonable assessment. It was ruined by a latent stubbornness, seemingly little related to the history of the ancient Akkad people. And moreover, it spurred European imperialism to expand into North Africa and the Middle East from the 19th century to the early 20th century. According to researcher Jacques Charlie Morgan from Western Carolina University, Tran University. According to the announcement by European scientists about the ancient history of Akkad, not only does it stop at tarnishing the reputation of the idea of an ancient Akkad theory, Europe also put forward arguments to justify its pioneering policy in establishing colonies in North Africa and the Middle East. They believe they are reclaiming lands that originally belonged to Europe. Morgan argued that this imperialist perspective had driven European nations to compete against each other, to establish exclusive rights in the restoration of Akkad artifacts. They believe that the current Akkad people are not capable enough to preserve and manage their own ethnic history. Meanwhile, the American Akkad language of this period was characterized by a desire to use it naturally and flexibly as a foundation of American civilization. Here, the relics are recreated based on models and inspired by the ancient city of Akkad. In the early pages of American history, it is believed that clues to the origins of those who spoke this ancient language can be found. Also known as the classical association theory. This theory has been widely featured on numerous television programs, including the History Channel, and in blockbuster films like Prometheus or works from the Ethanol series. The plays suggest that aliens set foot on Earth tens of thousands of years ago. Either that place will transform us into new people, or it will enslave us the moment we set foot there. From visitors who came from beyond Earth, the ancients gained knowledge, or have been genetically modified to develop advanced crop varieties on par with modern scientific standards. Even far beyond that, This is precisely why across the Middle East, from Egypt to Iran, you can find impressive evidence of humanity's early development. For example, the massive stone archgate structures. They often have a close connection with the Anunnaki gods. The ancient Sumerians are believed to have originated from outside Earth. Another species is called the Pleiadian. Those said to have originated from the Pleiades star cluster, that tin. When it comes to the Anunnaki, how many theories around us are truths, and how many are merely products of imagination? We have had no shortage of hypotheses and evidence to explain this issue. Who knows, maybe it will be inspected more thoroughly in the future. Specifically regarding Pleiadian, these bizarre creatures are at the heart of all debates surrounding the Zhang race. Classical system theory and the European perspective on the Chinese. We firmly believe that countless strange phenomena and events still exist all over the world. It's hard to avoid thinking that some of it may have extraterrestrial origins. Is it fair or not to draw such a conclusion? The aliens are the creators of humankind, and all the achievements we have attained since our existence on this earth are thanks to them. One of the most widely discussed and researched hypotheses is precisely this. But French paleontologist Julien Benoit argues that this theory is nothing special, it's merely an extended version of the European perspective. Because it replaces the achievements made by like-minded individuals. Ancient Africans achieved many remarkable accomplishments, and even the Aztecs in the Valley of Mexico were replaced by aliens. Benoit worries that people seem all too quick to dismiss the achievements of the ancient Jianao and Jiaden peoples. Even Nick Pope, a former official at the UK Ministry of Defence, a passionate researcher, dedicated to investigating and meticulously documenting real-world UFO phenomena, has made the following statement. Although the existence of aliens is certain, but this ancient theory has a few unconvincing points. The idea of aliens in the video game was harshly criticized by film critics. They believe this is just another version of an idea from a German leader in the 1940s. He was determined to prove that ancient aliens came from the player Death Star system. This person typically has a physical appearance resembling that of the inhabitants of the Scandinavian subregion in Northern Europe. These individuals are described as being between 1.8 and 2.1 meters tall, with long flowing hair and blue eyes. And they are the true creators of the ancient world. But why does this become an issue when it comes to the ancient Icon? Is archaeological work being conducted in various regions around the world? Unfortunately, this ancient alien theory also seems to be just another variation of the vanished race. The race that theoretically vanished, the builders of the ancient mounds. A theory that played a direct role in 19th century imperialism. On December 6, 1830, U.S. President Andrew Jackson delivered his second annual message to Congress. In the speech at the Union to justify the decision to remove India, one of the actions taken was relocating a portion of the Native American population. He declared that, amidst the ruins and fortresses of an unknown figure, stretching across the vast lands of the West, we saw the monuments of a mighty nation, were destroyed or vanished, making way for the existing barbarian tribes. These texts are considered among the earliest official reference documents about an ancient and advanced people who were the indigenous natives of the Americas. They are considered the lost group, the people who built the ancient mounds. A race believed to be superior, based on the theory of Nordic people. Just like the Pleiadian description, those people were later wiped out by Native Americans. In other words, critics argue that the ancient aliens theory is essentially just a modernized version of the mound builder hypothesis. But currently, this has been applied to the Africa and Middle East region. One thing to note is that this does not mean Africa is not only home to a rich folk culture but also possesses ancient traditions deeply tied to thatched houses and gardens. Or science will disprove the ancient modern connection theory first. For example, the Dogon people, a tribe in West Africa, live about 300 kilometers south of the Republic of Mali. It seems he has a profound understanding of the universe and our solar system. And even the distant constellation of Syria from thousands of years ago. Before modern science could achieve that. Meanwhile, the San Benjamin tribe inhabits the southern Africa region, believed to have discovered a way to perceive reality with clarity and transparency. Although these two examples were woven into the tale of ancient astronauts. But what we see here is proof that indigenous people apply outlying knowledge to achieve extraordinary goals without the help of aliens. Finally, this brings us back to the main topic of today: medieval people and ancient Egyptians. In 2017, German scientists published a DNA analysis study and proved that the ancient Egyptians shared genetic ancestry with the people of Turkey, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. To put it another way, Levantine people typically have light brown or sun-tanned skin. Even without DNA analysis, we can still find evidence for this in the art of ancient DNA, as previously mentioned. Here, they confidently express their individuality through diverse skin tones, but most of them depict themselves with a sun-kissed brown complexion. Even the graves of white people were recorded in these documents, but not as close as those who often bask in the sun. This indicates that the majority of ADN people have light brown skin, with a small group of white and black individuals who share similar demographic characteristics to modern Egyptian women today. But clearly, this stems from various different causes. In the 21st century, the strong growth of Islam has spread widely across the Mediterranean region. The cultural interchange continued among the Arab Muslim peoples. Northern Turkey and the sub-Saharan region have gradually given rise to a variety of skin tones and physical features across the country. Therefore, these early communities had little interaction with the Arab and Turkish Muslim groups that had settled in previous centuries. Each of these connections further demonstrates the close ties to ancient Egypt. Therefore, alongside the Nubians today, you will also encounter Coptic Christian communities in Egypt. Some dances can be traced directly back to the ancient Egyptians. This shows that both perspectives, viewing Africa as the center or prioritizing Europe, have certain limitations. But when considering the actual evidence, even the hypothesis of extraterrestrial life's existence also. The assistance of these creatures to humans during development may have occurred, but the specific extent of their influence remains unclear to this day. Technically, this capability still exists in theory and requires further research. In summary, it can be affirmed that the idea of an ancient alien race interfering with humanity's evolutionary process holds weight. Perhaps this is just a smokescreen, diverting us from a far more terrifying hypothesis. If an ancient person or civilization existed thousands of years before even Egyptian civilization, suddenly reaching a technological level nearly on par with ours today, then suddenly disappeared, so what happened? It was a horrific tragedy, one so profound that it completely altered the course of humanity's development. Many ancient cultures around the world, despite following different beliefs, have passed down stories of a great flood that destroyed humanity. However, other hypotheses have also been proposed, such as the phenomenon of sudden polar shifts or even an ancient nuclear war. We also cannot deny that it once happened in the past. There's no reason to prevent it from happening again in the future, even right now. These are the evidence and hypotheses about the ancient Egyptians, one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Given the information above, what are your thoughts on the origin of this great lineage? Is there any other way to save their ancestors? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Now, it's time to say goodbye. See you all next time.